Hello everyone and welcome back to Campus Channel. We're coming to you live from Paris this afternoon, joined by the ESSEC Business School to discuss their global BBA program. This is your opportunity to ask the questions you need so you can get the information you want to make up your own mind. You ready? We're going to have some fun. And joining me today are two guests. First is Corinne Piffer, who's the Director of Studies at ESSEC Business School's Global BBA program, and Shrey Agrawal, who is the first-year student on the English track at the program. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to give you 2 minutes to introduce the program. It's called The Speech. Shh. The floor is yours.
Hi everyone, thank you for receiving us today. So we're going to talk about ESSEC Global BBA today. It's a 4-year bachelor's degree in business administration, and it's delivered by ESSEC Business School, one of the best business schools in Europe. A few words about the school. It's a non-profit organization, well, institution I should say, with a big network of 46,000 alumni, so you can count on that. It's a school with 2 campuses, one, well, the main one being in Paris and the other one in Singapore, with a brand new building that we just opened actually a few weeks back, so it's quite exciting time for us. Now a few more words about the program, because that's our main topic today. Our tagline for the program is 1 program, 2 campuses, 3 countries. Meaning that the focus is really on the international experience in the program. So I guess we'll have time to discuss this more into details. And another very interesting feature of this program for the students is that we have built-in professional experience, like many business schools in Europe or in France, I would say, but it is really a key feature of the program that we try to foster for our students.
Excellent. Well, it sounds pretty good so far, but that was the easy part. Let's get to the questions. It's time for the face-to-face.
Dernier manche. 15.
Remember guys, this is a unique opportunity to get your questions answered, so don't hold anything back. Let's go to question number 1.
What if I don't know any French, but I still want to attend to ESSEC? Maybe Shrey, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I will answer that question. Personally, I didn't know a lot of French, but I'm still at ESSEC and I'm doing great. The academic language at ESSEC, if you're doing a global BBA, would be English. So as far as your courses are concerned, you don't have a problem. But obviously for your day-to-day functioning, you will need a little bit of French, which the professors at ESSEC are happy to teach. So you will have 6 hours of language classes at ESSEC all the week for French. So you can learn French, and the French would be business French, there would be day-to-day French. Everyone will help you. And around the campus, Cergy is a city, the place where you'll be studying Cergy or Singapore. If you're studying in Singapore, it will be in English. The city will speak English. But if you're studying in Cergy, there are a lot of students there, so the chances are a lot of people will speak in English.
So you mentioned that it was six hours per week?
Yeah, actually there are 9 hours per week of languages. But for French, if you don't know anything in French or a beginner at French, you'll have 6 hours of French per week, which is sufficient for you to talk in French.
And is that what you've been doing?
No, that's not what I've been doing. I have intermediate French level.
Okay.
So I study French and I have another language that is Spanish.
Okay, so you're actually already working on language number 3.
2 languages.
And that type of thing too. Can you talk about what it means to come to ESSEC to get a degree in France? You were talking about a 4-year program.
Yes.
So at the end, are we kind of assuming that the students will be very fluent in French?
Well, we hope so. I mean, the students who will be starting that program in France will have spent a minimum of 2 years in France. Then the second part of the program is a little bit more open and with a lot of in and out. With 6 hours of French per week for 4 or 5 semesters. Well, I guess it will depend on each person's capacity to learn languages, because we don't have the same strength on that matter.
And because the program is in English, is there any sort of French requirement to graduate at the end? No, there's not.
There is a requirement to learn French,
Okay.
but there is not a requirement in terms of level as
So there's no testing at the end that says you got to
No.
this level, you're good.
The only requirement for graduation is on English.
Mm.
So if you are not a native English speaker, you will be asked to take the TOEIC
Okay.
at least. Other tests as well for exchange programs, but it's for another objective. But if you're a native speaker, then that's fine.
All right. Why don't we go to the next question?
What kind of internship can BBA students take, and where are they often taking place?
Mm.
Oh, that's a very large question, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, maybe I should give some key information about the internships in the program so that you can
Good idea.
understand the different options that you have. The first internship in the program will take place at the end of the first year.
Mm-hmm.
That will be a 3-month, what we call operational internship. So the objective of that internship is really to discover what it's like to be working in a company. Most students starting the BBA program are very young,
Right.
typically 18 years old after high school studies, so most of them have not really had a proper working experience.
Mm-hmm.
For that internship, we're quite open in terms of function, sector, whatever. It doesn't have to be very ambitious in terms of responsibility. Obviously, we're not going to ask you to be the manager of this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, what students would be looking for that internship would be a commercial position, you know, selling. That's really the roots, the basics of a business school. So we encourage our students to have that experience of selling in a shop.
Okay.
I don't know, it could be, for example, selling in the Galerie Lafayette, a corner for a brand there, or it could be something maybe not so fancy, but still very valuable in terms of experience.
So this operational can be, is it primarily in France that this takes place? Because it's only 3 months?
It's open, you can do it anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, so French students would typically go to France, but a lot of them look for something overseas.
Okay.
And then international students, most of them actually do their internship overseas, yeah.
Okay, so they would come because the French could be a barrier if you're trying to sell for
Could
Galerie
be,
Lafayette.
yeah.
But
Some do speak French, so
Yeah.
it's not an issue.
at
Do
the
you wanna
same-
add something to
yeah, I would like to add that what it also provides is like it's an opportunity for you to work in France and be familiar with the, you know, like the language,
Mhm.
the people, the culture, live in a different place, because at the end of the day it's your internship. You can do it wherever you want if you could get accepted by the particular company.
Okay.
So if you're capable of getting accepted into any company, you go there and you do it.
Okay,
We
so
have that option.
do you guys have some pretty good relationships with companies
Yes.
that make it possible, that kind of understand
Yes.
the candidates that you're looking for?
Yes.
Because internships are very competitive to get, right?
Yes, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always something that you have to look for. It's
Okay.
never given, but still we have what we call career services
Mhm.
that help the students prepare for their applications, for their interviews. So we have a network of companies that we are used to working with. So
And so this is the operational internship. Is there
Yes.
another internship later on?
there is.
Okay. Could you talk about that
So
one?
the second one, there's 3 total.
There's 3 total.
Minimum 3, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So the second one will be a little bit special, quite unique. It will take place at the end of the second year for 1 month, and we call it the field experience, expérience terrain in French. It's more of a social and humanitarian experience. It's still under the category of internship because you'll be working. But the objective of that internship is to provide students with an experience of diversity, human diversity, social diversity, economic diversity, cultural diversity, and to be in a position of not having responsibilities, to really do something on the ground, be it, I don't know, working with orphans or
Okay.
helping building a school, or it could be working with disadvantaged people in France, homeless people in France.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be really that.
So where
that,
does
that
this,
kind
where
of-
does it usually happen? Is that also international?
So the statistics for last year, for example, is that 50%, less than 50% actually, I think 1/3 of the students did it in France, and the 2/3 did it overseas, and out of that, I think half or 2/3 did it in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah, Southeast Asia,
And do
Philippines,
international students tend to do that in the country that they came from? Or do they tend to switch?
No,
It's very
no.
different?
Totally different usually. Yeah.
Okay.
So is really a personal choice. You know, and it is compulsory to do that internship, but we will again accompany the students to finding the right internship for them. And also we will let them decide what they are comfortable with. So, you know, it's up to them to push until.
So that sounds kind of nice and fuzzy. But what's the practical benefit with my BBA to spending this time? Because isn't that type of work something that's supposed to come from my heart and not something that I'm supposed to do just to tick off my requirements for graduation?
Well, what we hope is that it's not just going to be a tick off.
Okay.
We can't prevent that it happens with one or two students. But 97% of the students are very satisfied with their experience. And we trust that it's an opportunity for a student to see something different.
Okay.
You know, reinforce the human dimension of who they will be as a manager in the future, and make sure that they've been through that experience at least once in their life. For some students, it's, you know, already in their DNA, and they already do that in their life without us having to tell them. But for other students, they just never had the opportunity or never thought about it.
Okay.
And so we try
that
to,
opens
you know,
them.
give them that opportunity at least once.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of assuming business students, they're kind of going to be more focused on making money. My sharks, basically, very young
Well,
sharks
we
swimming
hope
around in a
not to
pool waiting
train
to
just
eat.
sharks, yeah.
Why don't we go to the next question?
How does one choose the campus? How does it work?
Okay.
Okay, maybe some background information on that.
Right.
Indeed, from September 2015 onwards, students applying for the program can choose to start either in Paris, Cergy, or in Singapore. So how one choose the campus? Well, you just choose.
You just choose.
You just choose.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, both campuses are open.
So it's the same courses in each campus then?
It's exactly the same
Okay.
course. You will, for the first 2 years, it will be foundation courses, whether you're in Cergy or in Singapore. There will be minor differences which are actually quite relevant. For example, in geopolitics, the geopolitics class in Singapore will be on geopolitics of Asia, because we believe it's quite interesting to have a regional focus there.
Okay.
But you know, marketing will be marketing, economics will be economics. That will be the same. What will be different is how can I be clear about that? The timing of each track.
Okay.
So if you start in Singapore, you'll be spending the first 2 years in Singapore straight. And
All right.
then you will come to Cergy at the beginning of the third year. So what we call semester 5, as
Okay.
we talk in semesters. If you start in Cergy, you will spend the first year in Cergy, and then you'll go to Singapore for 1 semester, either in semester 3 or 4 during the second year, so fall or spring. So it will be basically half batches of the group going for the fall semester, and the other half going for the spring semester. Then everybody comes back to Cergy in semester 5.
Okay, so which one's better?
Which one's better? I guess both are great. Personally, because I've been living myself in Singapore, I think the Singapore campus is really, really exciting. Staying in Singapore is really quite a unique experience. That's their own title, actually, uniquely Singapore.
Uniquely Singapore.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Singapore tourism word.
So
I'm not making tourism.
Singapore's kind of a buzzword now in international economics. But isn't it just really just like a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific that just happens to not tax the trade that passes through it, so that it has a lot of, does it really have the influence of like an India or a China or Japan even?
Well, that's open to debate. It is, I think it's a very interesting experience to have. Maybe Shrey, you can add later, from a student perspective.
I feel that the fact that Singapore is geographically not too huge makes it more important for Singapore and adds an advantage to Singapore for it to be more better financially, and in cleanliness. You can see like Singapore is the most, Yeah,
you can't chew gum or you get whipped.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of bad breath though.
So the thing is that they have a little space or something like that, but they can do really good with that because it's not a lot to manage.
Yeah, that's true. It's a small country.
It's a small country, so the benefits and the outcomes would be better compared to a country which is huge in size. You can go to it, but that's why Singapore is progressing at a greater speed than other countries.
Plus, they got that sweet rooftop pool that we see those pictures of. Was the Singapore campus a big part of your decision, Trey, to come here to ESSEC?
For me, Singapore was not the big part, but it has been an influential part in this semester because I have an option to going at campus exchange, not only international exchange, a campus exchange, which adds another dimension to my idea because I'll be staying in ESSEC, I'll be with ESSEC teachers. I know that they have amazing quality, so I have an assured place to go, you know, which adds an option for me to have an inter-campus exchange. And then in my second study period abroad, I could go for some other exchange program in some other university.
Right, which goes back to the 3 countries at the end of the motto.
No, exactly.
No, but it's the internships as well.
Right.
Basically, you have 3 internships, so you have 3 possibilities of doing 3 internships from 3 different places. Then you have 2 exchange periods, so you have 2 possibilities of maybe, I don't know, like in the end of the program, maybe you have traveled 8 countries.
So sign up for a frequent flyers program.
Maybe you should do that. But
I just wanted to add something about Singapore. Maybe on a more general perspective. Well, yes, Singapore is a very high-tech city, etc. But back to doing your studies in Singapore and studying business administration, we understand and we really believe and make the bet that if you want to be a sound manager and working in business later, you need to know something about Asia. You just cannot avoid it. And when you're in Singapore, it's really, you can really see all of Asia in Singapore. If you're in China, you see China. If you're in India, you see India. But Singapore has all of that. It's really a mix. So it's a perfect way to get exposed to all those cultures, religions, even way of behaving, corporate cultures, and you really get. Singapore is really the only place where you get that. Hong Kong, not far, but it's still very much more Chinese.
I like the way that you clarified that question. Why don't we go to the next question?
What activities do students participate in during their free time, both on campus, schools sponsored, and in the community? That's definitely for you, Shrey.
All right.
So what are you up to, man? What's going on?
So there are a lot of activities which you can do. There are a lot of associations which you can join, depending on your interests. For me, I'm interested in drama, I'm interested in music, so there are a lot of associations which I can go to. Then you have sports activities. Basically, you have everything in that small campus. We have everything, and we have football, we have all the sports. Like you can, if you think of any sports, we have that.
Cricket?
You think of, no, that is not there. But at the same time, we have facilities around the campus where we can play. So it's not a problem.
So you can play cricket if you're ready.
Yeah, I can. It's not a problem.
And they also organize the Nuit d'ESSEC, the big electro festival for music.
Yeah, there are a lot of fests and there are a lot of activities and there are a lot of programs which are going on in the campus. So there's always a vibrant, vibe about the campus. Like for example, today when we were in campus, there was a fest going on about the chocolate days or something. So there's always
delicious.
So always something's going around. Like there's some association who is presenting their own food or something like that. So everything, it's really vibrant.
And do you think because coming into this program and not being required to speak French, is there a good integration between the French students and the international students that you felt so far?
Yeah, there's really good integration, and I can say that because I didn't speak French really well, and now I live with French people.
Okay.
So that's a clear indication of that. And you have a lot of programs. For example, we had jamming days, like jam days at the starting of the session. For the first week of our program, we used to come, like all of us used to come and assemble in a huge room, and we used to have activities and a lot of, team building activities. We used to dance together. We used to basically getting to know people.
Okay.
So that has helped me a lot. And then there are like small parties every weekend or something where you can go out socially, you can meet new people everywhere. And there are people at ESSEC coming from all over the world, Like there are other programs. It's not only about global BBA. It's about, there are a lot of people who are on 6-month exchange at ESSEC from various places in the world. So if you just go to any party, you will definitely meet 10, 15 new people, which adds to you make contacts.
Right.
And someday someone might come in handy, you never know.
Sure, well, there's a professional angle, and then there's
a professional angle and it's a social angle. It's perfect.
Right, okay. So it's a nice vibe because of that campus. Do you think that that's an advantage, being close to Paris but not in Paris, that allows for that kind of campus mentality that's not present maybe in some of the other schools in Paris?
I guess so, definitely, yeah. Because we have our, 4 residences, either on campus or very nearby.
Okay.
So I think it's really a plus, especially for international students, where housing can be a little bit of a concern when you come to Paris. Might not be so easy. So
Yep.
at least, if you want, you just ask for the room and you have it. So
Okay, so that's
yeah.
nice. That's a good safety blanket. And
Yeah,
everything
well, you need
too.
to respect the deadline. obviously,
Sure, I
but,
understand that. We're gonna probably get to a lot more questions about surgery too, because there's always questions about surgery.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to this next question, because it's really, really
All
good,
right,
and
so
it's for you.
Shrey, why did you choose ESSEC BBA? All right, so I chose ESSEC BBA for the simple fact that it is international.
Okay.
For example, right now in my class, I have people representing 20 nationalities. So that is what I wanted. And then ESSEC is the only school which provides you space within the school. It is an association which is known as joint ventures to open startup businesses. So you can open your own business under the guidance of your teachers. They will direct you, they will help you how to manage your funds, how to get your resources, where you're going wrong, under the guidance to have your own business with your own idea.
Wow.
And if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you want to, like you have a business idea or something, that's what you're looking at. And then they have, for me, I like to travel. I would love to, because I feel that you can't do business sitting at your own place. Like I could have read the same marketing books again, sitting at my own house or something like that. But I believe in order to understand people and to do business, you need to travel around the world, have the whole idea about a lot of places, how things work.
Okay.
And ESSEC provides that. We have exchange programs. We have 2 exchange programs. I've already mentioned that, I think. And we have a lot of internships. So actually, like, before I actually get out of the program, I graduate, I would have done a lot of things which I would have to do after the program.
Okay.
And if you do the same thing again and again, you'll probably get better at it.
So now I have become a little bit of an expert on this because I spend my time interviewing international business schools.
Yeah.
Every business school says that international is a very important key for them.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's become kind of more of a requirement than an advantage?
I believe that it is a subjective thing, For me, it's a requirement. It's not an advantage. For me, it's a requirement because when I want to work, I want to be able to work like anywhere in the world. I don't want to restrict myself. I want to broaden my horizons. I don't want to be restricted that, no, I can only work in France. I can only work here. I can only work there. I want to be global,
Okay.
And that is what this program provides.
So it is a requirement, but in your case, it's the right requirement.
Yeah, for me, it's the right requirement. Like, I'll give you an example. We went for a lunch and there were 8 people sitting on the table, all from different countries. Now that's something I was looking for.
So how did you agree on what to eat?
I don't know. Common stuff. That's where America comes in, No, I'm kidding. No,
Well, there's no discussion. You're in France. The food's delicious, so you're
no,
going to eat
but
well.
that's what I'm talking about, because the thing is that you feel so great, You're having the food and suddenly you realize that, oh my God, we are from different 8 countries and we're sitting and we're having a meal together. We are friends. And it's great because again, you build contacts.
Right.
It's all about connecting and it's all about networks and contacts. Who knows, maybe 10 years down the lane, I don't know, I need to start a business in Israel. I have a friend from there.
There you go.
I have someone in Tel Aviv, I can call him and I can say, hey, do you go?
Well,
So
the
it's all
networks
about,
are right. The network's a very key part
networking.
about the thing. So that was a very good answer, but it's time to go to the expert question.
All right.
Will you read for us, please?
All right.
Expert question.
All right, go ahead.
Europe is full of bachelors in management. What is your DNA? Yours. Okay, our DNA. Well, first I think it's excellence. I think everybody says that, but still, the ESSEC Global BBA has been ranked #1 consistently for several years in this category. So it's not just me saying it; it's really recognized as such. That's very important. And then our DNA is that, well, I think international. We've already talked a lot, quite a bit about it, but it's really now into the program. Like, we have 2 campuses. All students will be starting on both campuses, and all students on top of that will be going for an exchange program or double degree program. Students study 3 foreign languages.
Is that unusual to have an actual campus in a different country for business schools?
Other schools have that. I'm not sure many schools at BBA level have that.
Okay, right. I mean,
yeah.
master's programs, a lot of them have.
Yeah, of course, masters. There are other schools.
So for BBA, this experience is really
as a bachelor's program. I think
unique.
it is.
And were the rankings important for you? This number one. I mean, that's nice.
I'll tell you. I'll be very honest with you. The thing is that you can say the rankings are not important to you, but it definitely plays on your mind.
Yeah.
Because you're applying to a school and you think it's the best school.
Right.
So you want to apply to it.
Plus, your parents are happy; they can brag about it to their friends.
That I'm not sure about, but yeah. Yeah, and about the DNA thing, I want to say, like, what I've seen as a student, I see a lot of activity, you know, like there are things we're changing for the better, you know, like we have new facilities, we have new, you know, like I see a lot of people are creating associations, you know, there's movement in school. It's not static, you know.
Okay.
And for me, like, DNA is a thing which keeps on changing, which keeps on evolving, you know. And that's what I see. For when I joined ESSEC did not have a campus in Singapore.
No,
now it has been. I see, like, you know, like it's like the roots which are growing, you know. And in that sense, I like it.
Right.
Because right now it creates more options for me. If I think as a student, I feel more proud of my school because I know every time as we are talking, it's on the move. It's doing something to make our life better, to make us experience more, to impact more globally and on our life.
So it's not just enough to rest on this being number one, but it's constantly to improve.
Yeah, you know, because that's the thing. You can come first, but it's difficult to stay
number one.
Know? And ESSEC is definitely doing that. I'm proud of it.
All right, good. I like the way that you mentioned DNA
then
evolves.
last, if I can add,
absolutely, why not?
Probably also, well, professional development. I think that's just a given for business schools. We have to enhance professional development for our students, but we have, I think, a special focus on personal development and social development, like we mentioned with the internship, but also throughout the coursework. For example, as early as the first year, we have what we call a productive behavior workshop, where the students study some elements of positive psychology and how to behave with their classmates, with their professors, with their future internship manager, how to be efficient in their professional life, and I think it's really useful for the students.
Isn't that just really hard, though?
Like in what?
I mean, personal development. I mean, you're entering into this part where
it's a never-ending task. Obviously, I mean, you can always develop yourself personally until the end of your life.
But aren't kids who got into the number one, you know, BBA program already pretty well developed?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
The thing is, at the behavior programs, I was there because I attended it. It's not that we have already made it to the best school, so that's the end of the world. It's done. It's not like that, because what they teach us is how to behave not only with the world but with yourself, you know, how you should treat yourself. And you won't believe, like, it sounds all philosophical and it's all like really short and everything, but within a span of 3 to 4 days we actually learned a lot. Like, if you think back, you learn a lot, and you have to write a letter at the end. You have to write a letter, you can go as long as you want, to yourself, to, you know, like 10 years after what you are, like, you write a letter to future yourself. And you write that letter to your coordinator and yourself, which is a thing between you, and so you see what you're doing and how you think. And while you're writing the letter, you see that there are changes in you, you know. Yeah. You see how you want to change. You don't really change in 4 days, but you see that how you want yourself to change and how you want to interact with people. And it's really good for international students because they, you know, like, it's a workshop. Yeah. So you were together with everyone doing activities. For us, we had to make a play.
Cool. Well, you said you like drama.
I like drama, and it was good for me because I got a chance to showcase my talent, you can say, or my whatever insights into how I should create a drama or something like that. People appreciated it. I got to know a lot of qualities about other people that made me, you know, like, okay, he has the same similar interests, so we could connect.
Right. So there's a lot of value here.
There's a lot of value without even getting to know that you're learning a lot without even knowing that you're learning. You know.
I stand corrected. Why don't we go to the next question?
All right, so is the BBA well known in France? Can I go work easily in UK after graduating? what are the possibilities given to the BBA students after the graduation?
Okay.
I don't think I'm the right person to answer that. I'll ask.
Why don't we have Corinne answer this
Yeah.
question?
It's a big question. Is the BBA well known in France? Well, yes, definitely. As I mentioned, it's number one for quite a few years back now. Can I go work easily in UK after graduating? Yes, why not? But then again, it's just like any job search. You know, you need to convince an employer, etc.
Right.
But you'll benefit from the brand name of ESSEC, so that's definitely.
So employers, HR departments, and big companies in England know ESSEC.
Yes, they do.
And what do you guys do in order to like keep them reminded? Do you send them like French wine, or you know, just say, hey, we're still number one, guys. Don't forget, you know.
Well, first we have a strong network of alumni, especially in London, so that really helps. So of course they know ESSEC because they're from ESSEC.
Are they responsive? Do they respond to this? Will they help students that they don't know?
Yes, their alumni are usually quite eager to help. I think that's quite true. And then we have, as I mentioned, a big career services team that visits regularly several countries, including in the UK, of course. So, of course, we have a lot of people working in the UK, working in finance, you know, given
global hub.
Finance. Yeah, exactly. So that's, but not just that.
And what about BBA is kind of, you know, designed so that you get that and then you go work. Right? Are there a lot of your students that go and get maybe a specialized master in something else immediately after, or
that's
eventually
a good question.
even an MBA maybe after they've done 5 years of work?
Yeah, well, everything you mentioned is possible.
Okay.
So that's one of the very interesting things about the BBA is that students after graduating they can either choose to go to work because they are ready to go to work. Now, the last internship that we didn't mention previously is a 6-month internship built in the program. So that really gives you know, a more consistent professional experience, and it's really the last step before you actually jump into the job market. And after such an internship, you're much more ready to go.
And do those internships oftentimes turn into jobs after graduation?
Not well, they can, but not directly because it's not exactly the last semester. But students have the option to do another internship at the end.
Okay. Well, because I mean, if you do an internship and you nail it, you do a really good job, and the company's going to be like, "Well, I definitely want." I want her to come
that could be a
back
possibility. Many students do that, so that's.
So they can focus on the internship, really do a good job, and that'll help a lot.
Exactly.
All right, let's keep going.
And then they can go for masters.
Sure.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that after.
I'd like to know some criteria to enter your school. What is the academic level required to be taken in the bachelor? Okay, it is hard to answer that because obviously there are many high schools in the world.
There are many in the world, yes. There are a lot.
Many types of high school degree.
Yeah.
Best is, of course, we are looking for good and very good students. We are looking for academic excellence. So if you are among the top of your class, you should definitely
Top 5, top 10%?
I would say top 10%.
Okay.
But also, you know, some schools are better than others. So, you know, you might not be in the best 10% of your school, which is very good. So you still have your chances. So really, in that case, what I would recommend is you get in touch with our recruitment and admissions team, and they can advise you.
So they can take a look at your grades and they can say, you got a good chance, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Whether this is what we're looking for in terms of profile or not, yeah.
So how heavy are the grades in that? When you look at the application as a whole, how much are the grades?
It is very important.
It is very important.
Students with average or low grades will not be pre-selected.
Okay.
But we also look at the motivation, the reason why you want to apply for the program. Because we feel that is as important as the academic level.
And what about you? Tell us about you, Shrey. Were you a good student back in where you came from?
Yeah, I was a decent student. I would not say I was one of the top students, because I come from India, and there's a lot of competition there because of the population. So I got best of 491%, which is not bad. But so I applied here. But I would like to add that academics is not the only thing which you need to cross. You know, there are barriers. You know, it's like for international students, the process has steps.
Okay.
You know, for me, the screaming, because I think they skim through the the cream and they want the cream. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
first they like they see your academic results, and then you have to give a set of essays.
Okay.
You have to give it, like, you need to address a social, political, economical, or any topic which you're concerned about, political, or I don't know, like any
All
topic
right.
which you're concerned about in your country or in
What did you write about?
I wrote about the inequality of distribution of wealth in
Okay.
India. That interests me.
Okay.
So
a pretty big,
I wrote about that.
subject.
I wrote about that, and I gave my views about that. So basically what they want is, like, I feel that they want that you have to give your like letter of recommendations and your basically what a lot of colleges need. But apart from that, you need to address a topic which concerns you, which interests you, and you will be talking about that in your face-to-face interview or your interview over Skype or something like that. And based on that and your general introduction and your interview and your interest and your motivation, you'll be selected. So it's not that you get the marks and right away.
Sure, but there is a first screening. So I just want to make sure that we kind of got to that point.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to the next question,
Yeah.
please?
Is everyone sleeping on campus? In Sergi and Singapore, do you provide accommodation? All right, so no, everyone.
Maybe some people don't sleep very much.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure about Singapore because I've not been there.
Right.
I've not studied there.
But you live in Sergi.
But I live in Sergi, yes. ESSEC does provide accommodation. There's an association for that, which is known as ESSEC, if I'm pronouncing it right.
ESSEC, yeah.
ESSEC, yeah. And there's a accommodation right, like, which is within the campus, which is known as the Lay Park. That's where I live. And apart from that, there's another accommodation, which is the Port residence, which is just like 5 minutes walk. Then there's another, the Linand,
Okay.
and then there's another. So we have total of 4. One is 2 train stations away, one is 15 minutes away, one is 5 minutes away, and one is just attached to the campus. And you have pretty much all the facilities available. You have like shopping malls nearby. You have everything you want,
And then, Corinne, do certain students live in Paris? Because I imagine if you come from very far away, and you have the opportunity to live in Paris, that's...
Well, some international students who already know France stay in Paris, but usually those who are coming for the first time, they are much more comfortable staying in the residences first.
Okay.
And then, after one semester or 1 year, they make the choice or not to go and stay in Paris.
Okay.
That's really a personal choice,
Depends on the type of
For
experience you want.
Singapore, just to finish on that point, because we just changed campuses, so it's still brand new. We don't have residences as such, so it's a little bit different from Sergi. But we have a long experience of receiving students in Singapore, and we provide housing support, I would say.
So housing support. So where would they live though? They would live like in apartments with other students.
Well, the typical housing in Singapore for students is sharing apartments in condominiums. So it's a very nice lifestyle, I would say. Very comfortable with
Do students
swimming
usually have their
pool
own rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, unless they want to share, that makes it a little bit cheaper.
Right, because they have to pay for the cost of that.
Yeah.
It's not included in the tuition.
No.
Okay.
Just like it's not included in Sergi either.
Right. Okay, so it's not included Sergi either. No, so they have to. So they'll pay additionally.
It's a separate fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a separate fee.
Yeah.
And it's much more reasonable than an apartment in Paris, I'm imagining.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I guess for the same standard, yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And it's fun to live in a residence too, because your buddies are right
it's
there.
fun. Like I have like 7 more people with me. We have our own individual rooms. We have a common kitchen, common washrooms, and everything. So it's fun. We have fun. Like a lot of parties going on at the weekends, and it's a fun atmosphere.
We were talking about integration at the beginning of this interview, and I think it's really the option I recommend for first-year students because it's a great way to know friends and
take my opinion, guys. Like take it because you're gonna have the best time of your life in your college in the first year if you stay close to the campus because all the activities are on the campus.
Good point. Let's go to the next question.
How do I choose between the 2 tracks, Sergi and Singapore? Do we have access to the same possibilities in the 3rd and 4th years? Definitely you'll have access to the same possibilities because once you have done the first 2 years, everybody is back into the same track.
Okay.
There's no distinction between coming from Sergi or from Singapore. So you'll definitely have access to the same exchange programs. How do I choose between the two tracks actually in Singapore?
We had discussed this a little bit before.
Yeah, we did. Maybe what I could add is I think studying in Singapore is really, I think it's really unique again.
And if you're studying in Singapore, you're not going to be getting the French lessons.
You will.
You will?
Yes.
So you do the French, even if you do the first 2 years,
Yes.
you get French lessons.
Because all the students will be back to Cergy, so we believe that it's important that they know a little bit of French.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and also if they want to go into an internship in France, well, they need to know a little bit of, of
Can I
French.
add to that?
Yeah, you may.
I think that learning languages always builds to your personality and adds to your advantage. You know, like for me, like knowing more languages, for example, French, it's spoken in so many countries, has opened a lot of options for me, you know. Like at the end of the course, I'll be fluent, like I think I can speak English, but like, yeah, Spanish and French and probably one more language. So at the end of the program, you're a good graduate with 2-3 languages, so that opens, you know, like broadens your choices, options.
Absolutely.
So it's really great, and especially languages French and languages Spanish, because they're widely spoken. They're not restricted to a particular country or a particular area. So I don't think learning French is a bad option. Like,
No. I think it's a great option. It was just if you were looking for maybe a more European career, particularly right after you graduate.
Yeah.
But if it's the same, then well, it's not the same because you're not living in France, so you don't have the day-to-day interaction. But you do get the same sort of thing, and that was an important point.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why don't we go to the tricky question?
Okay.
It's time for
All
the
right.
tricky question.
Très inquiétante et troublante énigme que cette question.
Here it is.
Make us laugh. Haha. See, I did it.
Make us laugh. It's not even a question. It's a command or a request. Make us laugh. Tell us something funny about ESSEC.
I'm laughing.
I know, you're hilarious. Tell us something funny about ESSEC. Like, what's a particularity? Do you guys have like a mascot, or do you guys all have like a chant when you're like ESSEC, ESSEC, ESSEC?
Okay,
that's
I
a
want
student
I want to
question.
tell something about that.
Yeah,
They have a lot of songs.
they do.
A lot of songs.
Okay.
A lot. Okay, I don't understand most of them. That's a different thing. But it feels great. Like when we're going to parties, we have bus services.
Okay.
Like going to nearby clubs. You know about that, right? I'm not sure I'm supposed to say that. Let us just assume that you don't know about it.
You guys-
Just I'm not around, okay?
students
I'm
are
still a
calling.
good student, all right? So the thing is that we have buses, all right?
All right.
Which help us to go to the clubs
Sure.
and parties, and which bring us back as well.
That's very nice of them.
That's really nice of them. That's really nice of them. So when we're going, we have a lot of fun activities. We have a lot of songs. I don't know what they mean, but we have a lot of songs.
Okay.
A lot of songs. These guys like cheer all the time, like, you know, like about, I'm not sure if they're all about ESSEC, but they have a lot of songs.
They have a lot of songs.
About associations, about their, you know, like common stuff. I don't know, like a lot of songs.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have like crazy parties. We have a godmother, godfather thing, you know.
So
You
a
know about
student
that.
who helps you to.
It's like your, there's a student in first, second year or the third year who's your godmother or godfather. Like, I was not aware of this concept and kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? But then they told me like they'll help you and everything, so it was good. So basically you have a mentor, you know, like you have someone whom you can just go to and ask them questions about the program, about something, or ask some, like take some help if you don't understand a particular subject, or any damn thing, anything you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah,
This is
and
a nice
it's
thing,
a-
and they don't force you to make offers.
Yeah,
that you
but
can't
yeah,
refuse.
during the first, it's like a fun thing, you know. You
Yeah.
have your mailbox. They'll put a letter there. You have to do stuff for 1 week. It's a fun thing, and then you discover at the end of that week in a party, you discover who's your.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Like it builds, you know. Like we have like a lot of things like that. Like this is more on a, you know, like a funnier basis or something like that.
Sure.
But we have serious stuff as well, like more business related workshops and stuff like that. It's a mix of both, so you never get bored. Basically.
You never get bored, and
Yeah.
you have that nice fun element. Okay, I'll accept that as an answer. Why don't we go to the next question, please?
Is the Singapore track really focused on Asia, or is it the same as in Paris? Okay, so we discussed this a little bit earlier. So the most of the courses are the same, yet, as I mentioned, there will be a couple of courses focusing on Asia, so geopolitics and Asian economies.
Okay.
So that will be specific to Singapore campus. But what's more is that there will be the content will be similar, but the perspective that we put into the classes might be a little bit more Asian.
What does that mean?
Well, let me explain. For example, most of our faculty in Singapore is Asian.
Okay.
They're not necessarily Singaporean as such, but we have a lot of Chinese, we have Filipino, Indian, we have, I think, somebody from Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, we have a great diversity. It's not just Asian either. We have also Europeans, etc., etc.
So does that just mean that their accents are funnier? I mean, what's the perspective?
No, well, actually, it is part of the learning experience.
That adds to your, right. I'm going to talk about it.
I mean, being able to understand people speaking English from all parts of the world is also part of being interculturally sound. But my point was that they also come with their own personal experience and professional experience.
Okay.
So they can bring this into the course. Same for the guest speakers that we have.
So for example,
the guest speakers by definition will be coming from Singapore or the region. We're not going to bring somebody from France to make you a guest lecture, obviously. Well, why not? But only exceptionally.
Sure, right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Then also, typically, professors in Singapore will tend to use more Asian-focused case studies.
Okay.
So that will give a little bit more Asian flavor to the course.
A little bit of soy sauce to the...
Exactly, yeah.
And so is like the marketing fundamentals maybe the same
well,
in both
fundamentals
classes?
are fundamentals, yeah. I mean, you
Right.
need to learn the basics, right? So, and that doesn't change whether you're in Singapore or...
But they might use case studies that are unique to their personal histories.
For example, like in marketing, when we do the market analysis and we do the, like, for example, we're studying the markets, how they work, how retailers work from like B2B to C connections and B2C, like stuff like that. In those examples, like if you're in France, you'll be studying about retailers like Auchan, Carrefour, Monoprix, and stuff like that, because these are things which work in France, right? In Singapore, you'll be doing the same stuff. It's just that the price would be in Singapore dollar, and the stores would have Singapore names, or I don't know, like if it's a multinational company, I don't know. That's the only difference.
So
the subject
if
remains
that's
the
the only
same.
difference, then why do it in Singapore?
Because it's a financial hub. It adds a different dimension. It's not only about a particular, it's all about knowing on a global basis. It's not about knowing where you're sitting,
But marketing is different for consumers in Asia than in France.
Yeah, that's why it's important.
Right.
Because you need to understand.
But if you want to understand the difference between a consumer in China and a consumer in France, you need to learn the basics of marketing.
Right, so the basics are going to get to the basics first, the generalist track first. So how specialized does it get over the 4 years? Can you choose, like, to say, okay, at this point in time, I've got the basics. Now I want to dive in to, Asian markets.
Can I answer that? After you answer.
Yeah, maybe I'll give some background
information. Give us
just
how deep can you go? Because it's a BBA program, right? So it's supposed to prepare you, and it's not a specialized master's. So, but how deep does it go?
So the basics is that it is a generalist program, so we do not have majors as such, but in year 3 and 4, you start to have fewer compulsory courses and more electives.
Okay.
And the more you advance in the program, more electives you take within your semester. So with the electives, you can start to pick what really interests you most. Like, I don't know, if you're a fan of HR, you could take the HR management class.
Okay.
Or if you're a fan of finance, you could take financial markets or international cash management, etc., etc. If you really want to get a specialization, my advice would be to go for a master or advanced master after the program.
Okay.
Because that's really well you will get your core specialty. Yeah.
Okay, where it's going to be focused on your specific point of interest. And did you have a very kind of clear idea of where you were going with this program when you got in?
No, like I'll tell you. The problem for me was, like, I was interested in business. I wanted to have my own business and I wanted to know how it all works. But when I was applying in various colleges, a lot of colleges made me, restrict my choice to doing either a management course or an economics course or an accounting course, or a course in the field of finance. But what you're doing there is you're putting 4 years or 3 years of your life into that. Maybe it might not be, very fruitful,
Okay.
So I didn't want to, what I wanted was, like, I wanted to go in a school where I have glimpses of all of these so that I can choose on my own, on my developing interests.
Right.
And that is what ESSEC
As you go along, okay.
And that's perfect, because for the first 2 years, we have various courses. As of now, I have 11 subjects, 3 languages, and I have other business courses. I'm studying geopolitics, I'm studying law, I'm studying microeconomics, macroeconomics, accounting, financial maths applied to business, maths applied to financial maths, maths applied to business. There are two different.
There's a lot of topics.
There's a lot of topics, and you can choose what interests you, and then you can choose. That's what I wanted. You know?
Let's go to the next question.
Can you please explain the IBA track? Is that compatible with the Singapore track? Okay. The IBA stands for International Business Education Alliance. I'm actually very pleased that we can talk about this today because it's very, very new. We just signed it last week. So it's a scoop. And it's an amazing opportunity that we're going to offer to our students entering the program starting from September. The concept is that students who will be selected for that track will be able to spend the end of the second year at University of Mannheim for 1 semester.
Ah, Mannheim.
Yes. Then they will go for 1 semester in their third year at University of South Carolina in Columbia, Dallamore School of Business.
Go Gamecocks.
Sorry?
That's their mascot.
Okay. Sorry. Then they will go for 1 semester at ESSEC in Singapore. And then the last semester will be at FGV in Rio.
So do they do this with other people that they know throughout? Do they go with people? Because it seems like it's kind of daunting to displace yourself every 3 months, no?
So the students will start in Sergi or in Singapore. Okay. So to answer the question, yes, it's open to either track. Okay. So all students will be eligible for that. Provided they have the best scores, because it will be a selection based on academics, so only the best students can go.
Right.
And we will select a dozen students at ESSEC. Each institution will do the same, and that will make like a cohort that will gather together in Mannheim for the first time, and then they will, advance together semester through semester.
Okay, so you'll have some buddies with you. Yeah, because that's kind of intense.
You'll be moving around with the same people.
Just moving.
And
from one
ESSEC is a very highly ranked school, and very well known internationally. Mannheim, South Carolina, from my knowledge, are not exactly on that same level. So how do you ensure that the education stays at the same level as somebody who does the 4 years with you guys?
Well, ESSEC BBA is #1 in France in Bachelor in Business Administration. University of Mannheim is definitely the best school in business in Germany, and is our strategic partner. We've been working with them for several years.
Okay.
So we have a very strong cooperation. The program we are partnering with at University of South Carolina is the program International Business, and it's #1 in its category. And FGV Rio is also the best school in its category in Brazil. So we really have selected all the #1s. In the category, and that makes like a, I think quite a
so that's
very
really
attractive.
It's
for
an
student.
achievement then, basically, for you guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if I would have had the chance to go that, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
Because it gives you exposure to almost every continent except Africa.
You're right. So I mean, and then and that's
Australia maybe, and Antarctica. I don't know, but
in Antarctica, there's not too many business schools in Antarctica. But that's an incredible. So who was the impetus? Was it ESSEC that created this, or was it your partnership with Mannheim?
It was at the initiative of ESSEC quite a few years back, and then all those projects go through different phases, and we believe they're dead, and then suddenly they. Get alive again, and now it's signed. So so here we are.
So we'll have to have you guys back next year to hear how the students are progressing in their first track on the IBA. Why don't we go to the next question, please?
What are the areas that is possible to specialize in? I see no specialization on the website. Yes, I know, because
we kind of talked about this before.
Yeah. So as such, there are no majors, as we mentioned, but then we have a whole range of electives. We have like I don't know. Around 50 courses every semester that are open to students to choose in year 3 and 4.
Okay.
So communications, e-business, many web marketing, to stay on that side, or I mentioned a few things in finance, etc. Then also another thing is that you don't just specialize with your courses, you specialize also with your internships.
Right.
And that's a very important part as well, because you also build your future career based on what you're going to do through your internships. So you are also an actor on your specialization through the kind of mission that you find for your 6-month internship.
So you could still have a generalist education that gives you all the background you need, and then focusing on your internships in one area, which would make you a pretty strong candidate to get a job in that field later on. All right, why don't we keep going? We got to plow through a couple more questions.
How do you select the students that get an additional international exchange from within your network of 115 partner universities? All the students get an additional international exchange experience.
Okay.
So whether you're the first one or the last one in the ranking, you will go.
So is this the additional international exchange? Are they referring to?
I guess on top of the campus exchange. I guess that's what the question means.
And so everybody does that.
Yeah.
Additional.
It's like once after the 3rd semester. The 4th semester is an exchange period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for 6 months
format,
you will go in. It's your first study abroad period, and you go to some other country in some other business school and you study there.
Okay.
And the criteria is based on your rankings, which are obviously your academic curriculum, which is based on your academic curriculum, and then you have certain requirements based on those universities where you want to go. For example, some universities have IELTS requirement or TOEFL requirements. So if you fulfill those requirements and if you have a ranking, you can choose, you can give your list of 20 universities, you can give a list of 20 universities by giving your priority, which ones you want. You can select those and you're sure to get some from that.
Do you know where you want to go yet?
I'm not sure. There are a lot of interesting options. We have a lot of good top universities from all over the world. I'm interested in a lot of places. I'm interested in King's College London.
Okay.
And I'm interested in going to US as well. There's I'm forgetting the name of the business school, but it's in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm forgetting the name of
Emory.
Emory, yeah. I've heard it's pretty good.
It is a very good school.
I am not sure, but we have that, and you have some requirements. So basically, it's for you.
And
if
so
you fulfill the requirements.
So we've talked about this huge international thing. I'm just imagining right now my own personal experience with visas. And if you're sending people to a different country like every couple of months, I mean, they've got to just have just this dossier that is just... So do you guys have like somebody that's dedicated to making sure...
We have a team.
Okay, a team.
We have a team that supports.
And so it's not just for France, but also for Singapore,
course.
for maybe in London or other places where you want to go?
We have what we call the Global Education Office that is just dedicated full-time at helping both outgoing students and incoming students prepare for that.
Okay, because that seems like it's another...
It's a lot of
you know, because you got to have the TOEFL and then you got to have the thing. And then, all right, well, let's go to the next question. We have time for 2 more.
Is the apprenticeship track open to foreign students? How does it work? Yes, it is open to foreign students provided you have a European nationality. That's a restriction from the law, so I'm sorry I can't do anything about that.
So what's an apprenticeship? Is that like when I'm making horseshoes? Like blacksmith?
So the apprenticeship track is referring to a 2-year company contract that the students sign with a company that they have found. So during the last 2 years of their studies, they become employees.
Okay.
And during those 2 years, they have time in the company to work or time at school to study.
Yeah.
And when we say at school, it could be at ESSEC or at the partner university, it doesn't matter. And the point of that is, the main advantage really is that the company is paying for the tuition fees. So really that's excellent.
Slow clap.
For the 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's still first 2 years to pay.
Okay, still, that helps.
But it's like half of the school fees. And the other big advantage is that the student who's now an employee receives a salary during that time. So not only the company pays, but they also pay for the salary for the student. So from a financial perspective, it's really great. But also from a professional perspective, you get very strong exposure and experience because the professional experience is a little bit longer than what you would do through a 6-month internship.
And does it have to be with French companies nearby?
Well, it has to be a company incorporated in France that pays taxes in France. That's the law requirement.
But it's going to be kind of hard if you were doing it from a company in Marseille.
Why not? No, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
could be anywhere.
Well, we got one more question. I think it's a good question. We kind of covered it before, but I think it's worth another mention.
Are foreign students
Speak.
mixed with French students or not? Yeah, they are. Right now, I have a class of 65 people, out of which 30 are international students.
So,
Yeah, and the rest are French students.
and do the French students speak English too? Are they required to speak English?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole
of
study is
course.
in English.
Okay.
So their whole education during the 4 years will be in English. So they have similar levels of English, like everyone is at par. You
Okay.
know? You can't really say that no, they can't speak English, something like that. Their English is at a good level because they do their studies in English.
And what about the cross-mixing between students in the other French programs?
In the other French programs, it definitely depends because they also have to study English. So they study the languages, but there are some, for example, languages classes,
Okay.
you know, and all these workshops. For example, in my language class, I study with a different group of people who are in the French track.
Okay.
So I interact with them. They're friends with me, so there's interaction there.
Right.
And then you have all the workshops. For example, we had a business simulation in the first year of BBA, which was really great. And in those, like, we had teams from different people, so it works well. Like, you get to know more people from different like parts of France or from different program, like from a different class from the French track.
Awesome, guys. I want to say thank you so much for this hour of questions and patient answering and some very good answers that came out from today. I want to just give you a quick second for a conclusion, if you wanted to add any points that we forgot to leave out.
All right. I would like to conclude by saying that if you're looking for a program that is progressive, multicultural, corporate, gives you an international exposure, and at the same time, you know, stimulates your creativity and challenges you to put in your best efforts, you're looking for ESSEC.
Well said. Well, there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for tuning in this time for us here at Campus Channel. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to check out the replay, which will be online a little bit later, or you can get in touch with them directly. They'd be happy to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.